Right. Okay. Well, welcome to this edition of Poetricity live event. We are on the Flow framework, and it's great to have you with us today. Um, and in a way, the chat we've been having just before now means that this piece probably is the best one we're going to kick off with because I know it's going to serve at least one person here. Okay, here we go. So put it in and then I'll read it out and then we'll talk about it. This one is called The One. Wake me up, I must be dreaming, head spinning from my hat juggling act. Vision blurred from so many moving parts. Someone tell me what the heck is going on. Feels like the ground right under my feet is gone. The world as I used to know it, all now a distant memory. Just a minute. Let's let someone in. I am not a celebrity, so definitely get me out of here. Too much, too fast, too soon. Step back, step up to take another look. Perspectives shift with where you stand. Take in the vista and find the one. Loudest one, the easiest one, the quickest one, the 80-20 rule one. Give the one your gift of focus. Step down and step in and get that win. Step back, step up, and then repeat. So this is called The One. I'll read it one more time. Wake me up, I must be dreaming. Head spinning from my hat juggling act. Vision blurred from so many moving parts. Someone tell me what the heck is going on. Feels like the ground right under my feet is gone. The world as I used to know it, all now a distant memory. I am not a celebrity, so definitely get me out of here. Too much, too fast, too soon. Step back, step up to take another look. Perspectives shift with where you stand. Take in the vista and find the one. The loudest one, the easiest one, the quickest one, the 80-20 rule one. Give the one your gift of focus. Step down, step in, and get that win. Step back, step up, and then repeat. So what are you hearing in that?
I need to know when to step down and when to step in. And what do you mean by taking the vista? What does that mean?
Taking the vista means when you step back, you get a wider perspective, so you can put things in perspective.
Right.
Anybody else on this one?
I hear nothing but confusion. That's what I hear. Nothing but confusion. I don't even know where to start with this one.
Yeah. And that really is what that first verse is trying to paint, right? And to give you some context, this actually came out of when COVID hit, and the business at which I was working, nobody had seen anything like that before. They didn't know how to respond. Everybody was flying all over the place trying to, how do we deal with this? And it did feel exactly like you described, confusion. And again, going to the incident I mentioned before where, unfortunately left my bag while I was trying to do something. The moment after that again was this kind of confusion. It was like the panic of how do I get it, but what do the and then so there was not a clarity of thinking there at all.
Mm-hmm.
So Frank, how did you sort that period of your life, and what does 8-20 rule one mean?
The 8-20 rule one, it's something that says 20%, so 80% of your results comes from 20% of your effort. So it's a rule. I can't remember the guy's name. It starts with a P. So his rule was trying to find the thing that you can focus on that will give you the most outcomes, basically, because everything is not always one-to-one. Not everything you do brings commensurate results. So it's kind of trying to find what are the things that you can do that is most effective that will get you the biggest outcomes or the greatest shift.
And how did you get out of that period yourself?
The honest truth is, it was only after I realized this is not getting me anywhere that I kind of went, you know what, better step back. And then I realized, oh, well, I could have done that, that, and that, and then I would have gotten to it straight. So I think the key is that bit where you're able to, hi, Raquel, how are you doing?
Hello.
Is that bit of, once you recognize that you're in that state, how you quickly get to the point of reset, I think is kind of the
Yeah.
So
Anything
it's a
else?
learning curve.
I like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Yes, Herbert.
It
what were you saying?
reminds me of, go ahead.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, it reminds me of a period when it would seem as if I am pedaling using a whole lot of effort.
Mm,
I am pedaling until my feet hurts.
mm,
I am even getting up out of saddle and pumping real hard,
mm,
only to realize I am on a stationary bike. So when you talk about perspective shift with where you stand, it's not about how hard you're working or even how smart you're working. You have to stop, look at the environment and saying, what's happening? How is everything tying in? So with all that effort that I have been putting out and riding so hard, nothing at all was accomplished.
mm.
And no matter how hard you ride and pump that bicycle, if it is to go to the fridge to get a glass of water, you'll never reach. You'll have to get off the bike and take a walk to the fridge and get your water. So perspective again, it's in my mind, what's coming to my mind is first, check perspective.
Mm.
Have a check-in.
Yeah, I like that. I really like that. Anybody else on this? You might have missed this one, Rachel. I'll put it back in. We've got Treadstone 2. Would you like to identify yourself? I'm happy for you to be off camera if that's better for you, but let's know who you are at least.
Oh, sorry. I didn't know it was coming up as Threadstone too. It's me, Duke.
Hello, Dick. How are you? Great to have
Sorry.
you.
Sorry.
That's
I'm just calling in from work, so which is
No,
why I was
that's
on
fine.
mute.
All right. Anything else on this one before I go to anything else? Okay. Let's go for this one then, because I think this is the second part of that one. This one is called focus. In a world of infinite possibilities, focus is the lever, operating the filter, narrowing our experiences, permitting agency. What has yours? I read that again. In a world of infinite possibilities, focus is the lever, operating the filter, narrowing our experiences, permitting agency. What has yours?
What was your thoughts behind this one, Frank?
I'd like to hear what people think first before I start giving that. I will share that, but I just want to hear what people think first, or how this lands.
Oh.
It sounds like business talk to me. Permitting agency.
I like that. Okay. I'll take that as feedback. I'll take that as feedback, Maria.
I think this one goes with the poem before, the line when it says, give the one your gift of focus.
Mm,
And I think that gels with this one that you've just read.
yeah.
Because I was about to say something about that line and then you read the poem. So I thought, okay, that's all right.
Well, now you can share what you're going to say about it and cover both of them in one.
Because when we focus, whatever we focus on, it means that we eliminate other things.
I like that.
And that's not a bad thing, because sometimes we do need to eliminate things in order to get the or see the manifestation of certain things. We have to limit, sometimes have to limit other things because they can become distractions.
Mhm.
But at the same time, depending on what you're focusing on, because if you focus on something that's not good for you, then you're going to get more of that.
I like that.
Hmm.
I like that. Yeah. So what you focus on is important, is what we're hearing.
Yeah, so be mindful about what you're focusing on.
Right. I hear that. Anything else?
I like this one because it just sums me up right now. Actually. So in the world of infinite possibilities, oh, I've got so much rushing in my head right now that there's this and there's that, there's this. What do I focus on? And I like the way it starts off. Focus is the lever. I love that because it's like if I focus on all the possibilities, I should now filter out how they fit together. And that's where I think I am right now, trying to filter it out. And then you go into operating the filter. And then goes narrowing my experiences. Yeah, so now I'm filtering it. I'm getting down to a few things that I really do want to focus on. But before it was all chaotic because I was focusing on too many things. So I like when you turned and it's like a twist. Narrowing our experiences, permitting agencies. Yeah, it's like putting everything in a pocket now. Because I've got infinite possibilities of what I want to do. I'm now trying to narrow it down because at first it was so chaotic. I was like, well, I can't do so many. My multitasking is kind of not, I'm not very skilled at it anymore as I get older. So now I've got to think, what has yours? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Permitting agency. What has yours? Yeah, that'd be interesting. I'm not sure what that means, but you've just given me insight into what I really do need to focus in on now that I've got all these possibilities. I now want to bring them together.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes absolute sense. And what your whole discourse is really just demonstrating the point of it. And this is where I bring Muriel into to debunk my office speak. So Muriel, the permitting agency, the word agency, you're right, is a bit of jargon, so maybe I need to work on that. It's the idea that is what allows you as a person to actually do something that you determine to do. And like Rachel has so eloquently put forth, when you're filled with infinite possibilities and everything's there and everything's you know, then you don't actually do anything because you're busy focused on everything. But when you decide, okay, this is what I'm going to focus on, then you filter out everything else. It narrows down your focus, and then you enter in and do the thing that you want to focus on. And so the question, what has yours, is just an invitation to say, what am I focused on? Is it what I want to be focused on, or have I been inadvertently pulled into that focus, right? So am I intentionally focusing on this because it's what I want? And if it is, then I continue that. If I'm not, then I can shift that focus. So it's just recognizing, because unfortunately our mind is there to filter in order for us to actually get something done if we need to get something done. But I love what Rachel is saying, is that you start from a place of infinite possibility, so you give yourself the greatest opportunity to really consider what's available. But ultimately, in order to actually get one of those things done, you need to filter down to the one you're going to focus on so you can get it done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else on this?
Yeah, it's Duke. Yeah, I kind of look at it from a different perspective.
I would
I
love
look at it, no, I look at it like the way the mind works, the way I understand how the mind works. The mind needs energy, like everything else. It needs energy to be able to fulfill a goal. So you first have to get an idea of what that goal is, right? Many people have goals and dreams, but without the focus, there's no energy. So, which is why when you have many different things, I want to do this, and all you're doing is splitting your energy in millions of different ways. So until you get that one focus, then the mind now gets energized, and suddenly you wake up in the morning and you know what you're going to do, and there's no procrastination is not a problem anymore because the mind is just, it's filled up with all the energy that it needs. That's the mental boost that gets you up and going. And that's why people actually end up achieving things when they focus. Because without that energy, the mind can't do anything.
Wonderful.
Yeah. No, I love that. And that is no different. It's just that using the word energy to actually really help us visualize what's actually taking place there.
Yes.
But yeah, ultimately we are taking the energy of the possibilities and funneling it into something specific and precise, so we can actually get that achieved. Thanks for sharing that. Beautiful. Anything else on this?
I think that's why it helps me to focus on the Lord in the morning, because he, I feel that he can inspire me as to what I should choose to do and what I should be doing. Yeah.
That's a good one as well.
Beautiful.
So that is then helping you with the idea of what you focus on, because you're gaining. And so that takes us back to our previous session where we were talking about opening the space for inspiration. So you create space to receive inspiration for what to focus on. And then once you focus on it, you're able to actually get it done. So that's great. Okay. Anything else on this one before I put another one in? Right. This one is called The Axe. Feeling guilty, not working as hard as I used to, spending some time to sharpen the axe, to need less time for cutting the tree, leaving more time to enjoy its fruits. Sharpening the axe, aiming at the roots of my guilt, more time for eating. So I'll read that again, the axe. Feeling guilty, not working as hard as I used to, spending some time to sharpen the axe, to need less time for cutting the tree, leaving more time to enjoy its fruits. Sharpening the axe, aiming at the roots of my guilt, more time for eating. Oops. What's coming up?
Procrastination.
Okay, tell me more.
Well, it's like you're spending time sharpening this axe when you should really just be cutting. You should just be doing.
Okay.
So it's like, okay, you're thinking of what you want to have, you're thinking of what you can have, and there's some guilt that you're not actually doing what you're supposed to be doing. So how do I search that guilt? Well, let me just keep sharpening the axe. And I've seen myself in situations where I keep sharpening the axe, I don't do anything else. I'm just sharpening the axe. Yeah. Tomorrow I'll cut, but I never get there, because so it speaks to your procrastination and just
that's an interesting take on it. I suppose you could look at it that way, and I can see how you come to that conclusion, and maybe there's room for both. So let's see what else comes in the room. But thanks for sharing that. Anything else on this one? What comes up for people in this?
I think we need to get to the root of a lot of things, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
I'm not sure about the more time for eating though, because
I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to take it directly from where Duke left it in terms of, yes, there's that possibility that you could spend all the time sharpening the axe and never actually do the cutting. But there's also the possibility that all you do is try and cut without, number one, as Muriel said, aiming for the roots so that you get the whole thing done in a faster, more efficient way. You're probably cutting all across the tree and whatever. So it again goes back to the 80-20 rule where you're kind of putting all your effort, but actually only getting 20% of the outcome you need. Whereas maybe if you spend your 80% kind of getting yourself in a place where one swing the root is gone, is done, then you won't be exercising as much effort, but getting outcomes. So it's kind of, you could get stuck in the middle, like Duke is saying, where all you do. But I think one of the things I always say with all my pieces is that the first building block is awareness. Are you aware? Where am I? Am I, as Duke was saying, just sharpening here and avoiding having to cut the root? Or am I just bashing away and not really being guided as to how I'm doing it and doing it in the most effective and efficient way? So it's kind of, it's kind of becoming aware. Is that the best way? Is that going to serve you? Okay. And then go from there. Yes, Udoka.
Yeah, I think in that aspect of, cutting it from the root has really helped me to resolve a lot of things in my life. Because sometimes when you just cutting the grass, it takes a while for you to know the thing that is igniting what you are cutting. So I'd rather go to the root to find out what is the root cause of this that will prevent me from cutting it beautifully. And by doing that, it has really allowed me, to deal with a lot of things. There's a proverb, there is a word in the Bible, I'm a believer of Christ, that says that whatever I've not planted will be pulled up. So we need to get into that pulling up so that at the end of the day, because sometimes cutting off the grass is distraction. Not finding out the root cause of whatever you're going through. Deal from it from then, and the rest become easy peasy. Because once a hole is there in that root, it's already pulling up. So that's the way I've been able to deal with my situation in the last 12 years. I think we always try to run away from the root cause. For me, I did it for so many years, running away from the root cause and blaming others, cutting. But once I was able to find the root cause, I was able to see my strengths, find my strength in there, that this is where I can focus on and deal with the rest of the cutting beautifully. And it has really helped me, and it has given me a lot of positive results.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Yes, Rekha.
Yeah, I like that. It's given me a completely different perspective. But what I saw straight up was balance. Looking at balance, preparation time, and sticking to that preparation time, and then the work time, and then doing the chopping. So the preparation is the sharpening, then the chopping, and then aiming. This preparation is all about aiming for that root, like you're saying, identifying the root, and your objective is to reach that root, and then allowing my time for rest. This is where I used to feel guilty. The moment I rest, I think, I know I have to do this, I have to do that. And knowing that when that time comes, I'm actually not being productive because I'm too tired or I'm not thinking straight. But now I give myself time to rest. Just like you with the Bible, God said we must rest as well. So I put that in part of my planning stage now of whatever I do. So looking at the root of the problem, like you were saying, I used to have difficulty. If you don't know the root, you don't know what you're preparing for.
Exactly.
Yeah. I love that. I love that you introduced the rest piece as well, which is equivalent in the piece to the eating or the enjoying of the fruit of, the enjoying the fruit of what has been done.
The time for eating.
And to not feel guilty about that, because I think there's sometimes we get conditioned to thinking our value is tied up in how often we are doing. Everything is about the doing. But if we look at nature and we look at how God created things, we'll see that there's always the time for resting and the time for enjoying and the time for eating. And our sole focus on earth is not to just keep doing.
That actually worked for me. So I've actually put away that one day where I am totally resting, like the Bible says, and stop being distracted like I have to do anything, because it's always going to be there, I suggest, I suppose. And it's actually helped me to focus more on what I need to do.
I hear that. And
I think overall...
Yeah, go on, Herbert.
I was thinking that overall, there's a time and there's a place for everything. there's a time when you have to be pressing in and really be going hard for the better good. That I was talking to someone yesterday and I said to him, listen, you want to enjoy life right now at 16, 17, and you're not doing as much as you ought to be doing where school is concerned. So I said to him, why not put in all the effort now? So at 45, you can retire because you have done so much, you have done enough to retire at 45 because it's very possible. Because I was sharing with him that a lot of younger millionaires are coming up these days, and it's not impossible that you could be a part of that. And you could see the light bulb turn off in his head that makes sense. So I can put in the work now, and later on, I can enjoy life. Then you want to enjoy life right now, and I said to him, do you want to wake up one day at 50 and ask, what have I done with my life? Simply because you're enjoying life so much. So I was saying to him that the thing that pains my heart, sometimes I'm going to work and I see a person 75, probably 80, back bent, and they're going to work because they have to survive, because they might have well put the cart before the horse.
No, I hear that. And that is the thing about the order, knowing and recognizing the time for this bit, that bit, that bit, and that bit. So again, it takes us back to awareness. It takes us back to being, again, if we don't have places and spaces for reflecting, sometimes we don't get these on, and sometimes it takes events or things that are adverse for us to get that message and recognize that. Anything else on this before I put anything another?
With everyone's reflections, I'm looking at this differently, because I'm thinking if we chop down the tree, we won't enjoy its fruit. So I was looking at it as a tree, an actual tree, but that's not really how I should have been looking at it. It's aiming at the roots of my guilt. Yeah. So I'm looking at it a whole new way again. So thank you all for all your explanations. It's teaching me, educating me. So thank you.
Right. We're all getting educated here. You're most welcome. Right. Okay. So this one is called Winging It. Everyone is winging it, not that you would know it. Some are great at fronting it, pretending they were made for it. Truth is none has been this way before, like a swan paddling furiously, some just so good at faking it. Don't be fooled by any of it. Every chance they feel as you do. Don't be afraid to admit your truth, learning them courage to say it too. I repeat, winging it. Everyone is winging it, not that you would know it. Some are great at fronting it, pretending they were made for it. Truth is none has been this way before, like a swan paddling furiously, some just so good at faking it. Don't be fooled by any of it. Every chance they feel as you do. Don't be afraid to admit your truth, learning them courage to say it too.
You know the word winging it, right?
Yeah.
It reminds me of when I was working and I was going to a very quite a serious meeting with my manager. And as we got into the car, she turned around to me, she goes, I'm gonna have to wing it today. And I didn't know what she meant. I didn't know what she meant at the time. So I said, what does she mean she's gonna wing it? And then as we sat in the car and I was talking to her, I realized, oh, you mean you're unprepared? So you're going to go into the meeting as if you know what's going on, you know the time of day, but really you don't. You know what I mean? So and I thought also that's an interesting thing, but that phrase has come up so many times in my professional work. I hear people go, I'm gonna have to wing it, I'm gonna have to wing this, I'm gonna have to wing that. And I'm thinking, I don't know how I would find that very difficult, especially if you're going to something quite serious and you're going to go there pretending that you know what's what, especially if it involves somebody else's welfare. So winging it, I think there's a place for it, but it depends on what it is really.
Yeah. No, I hear you. And by all means, I need to make everybody clear. I am not by any means saying this is what you should do or shouldn't do. I'm putting this out there just so we can have a conversation about the concept. So what you're saying is brilliant because it's like, yeah, where should you be winging it? What is the context of winging it? What does winging it mean for you?
Yes.
Right? So those are very valid points. Anybody else on
I love the ending because it just sums it all up. Just tell the truth. Just tell the truth. That's it. I've been trying to practice. Again, this is like summing me up all the time. So I don't know if I've been actioning all the dreams, meetings that we've had in the past. And I'm now, putting it into practice, and it's coming out like this because I've been seeing that all I need to do is just tell the truth no matter what. Winging it, it's not a thing that you're not prepared. You're going to, and winging it can be a good thing in the sense that you've got enough information to make it look good. And I used to hate when people used to do it. I mean, some people go overboard and literally wing it every day just to get out or working or get out of doing a job. But sometimes I found that if I went in just saying, I've got nothing, it's worse than to say, yep, I've got this, that, and I could do this, but I will do you know what I mean? But adding without taking away the truth. That's my perception of winging it now, in a sense that I want to go in with something. So I do that. But at the same time, I always make sure when I do go in with something, it's the truth. No matter how small. So then I'm kind of using wisdom rather than winging it now.
No, I can see how you position that. Anyone else on this?
Yeah, it's I think it's Duke. It's complicated because it will have to depend on your definition of winging it, because there are different levels to this. Because being creative, being innovative, coming up with ideas out of the box, it's winging it. But that's winging it in a good way. Now, being unprepared for a meeting, not reading the data sheets, not reading the specifications, and going there and outright lying and causing other people to make decisions based on my lies because they expect to be able to trust me and what comes out of my mouth. Now, that's winging it in a bad way. So I think there are levels to this. It's like balance. There's levels to it. And at the end of the day, you should be able to know what your priorities are, and you should be honest. So I think it comes right back to honesty. You should be able, am I going there to be creative? Am I going there to suggest solutions out of the box? Or am I going there to just outright lie and deceive people? So it comes down to that fine line of which side of the yard are you on? Are you deceitful or are you honest? Because nothing wrong with telling people, look, I don't have anything, but we could do this, but we'll go find out and come back and let you know later. No shame in that.
Yeah, I love that. That sounds to me a very balanced view of all the things we've been talking about. Is that idea that, because you're right. If you're being creative, it's something like I say that if none has been this particular way before, we have to be creative, right? And so, how might we? We know this has worked in this circumstance. Maybe we could tweak it a bit, and it might work in this circumstance. But I love what Duke's saying there is that everybody's clear that that's what's happening. They're not thinking that it definitely, but you don't. So it's everybody has to find their way through it. But I love the idea that if there are consequences to you being untruthful, then those consequences could come back and do a disservice to you and to others. So that's not what we're here to encourage. Anything else on this?
So Frank, when you wrote this, do you feel everyone is winging it? Have you proved that? I mean,
it's not. Let me put it this way. It's not meant to be a literal statement. It's meant to be a statement that will cause people to have that conversation. So the idea is that at some point in everybody's life, they've been winging it. There's just the way it is. At some point in everybody's life is winging it. The other thing it's trying to invoke is this idea that very often we make up stories for other people. Anybody who stands up and does something, we like to believe that they feel confident is why they're doing it. and we have trepidation when we have to do the same thing. But we judge our trepidation that we know of with our imagined stillness and perfection of the person who we believe has delivered. But what we're trying to point to is actually, you will be surprised to find out when you interview those people, they did, and the Olympics was a perfect example. There's people who performed certain things in the Olympics, and when they were being interviewed, you expect them to go, yeah, I knew that was going to happen, and that's exactly how it happened, and this is what, and then they go, you know what, that was a whole blur. I don't even know what happened there. I just was going with whatever I'd already trained and whatever, and this was the outcome. So it's kind of giving yourself that grace to appreciate that not everybody you see out there doing it is feeling 100% confident, but they're going out and doing it anyway.
Exactly.
So actually, even though you're feeling a bit trepidatious about it, once you've done what you know to do, go for it. You'll be surprised the outcomes you might get.
Yeah.
So that's...
I do agree with you, Frank, that everybody is winging it, and not intentionally, but it's not a bad thing that they're doing it, or it wasn't intended. But you do come out and you say things because it just comes out at that time. And then you do your reflection and you realize, okay, yeah, but it wasn't like that, because your expectation of what people want you to say is always there.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I hear that. I hear that. And
when I look back at that first verse, I'm thinking, yeah, it's true. We all do wing it in some way or other. It's your intention of why you're winging it. Like when you go on, some people are fronting it, some people are pretending, and some people are forcing it. Well, that's when it becomes deeper, and then you start to see, well, can that person be trusted? Then truth come into it. But at the end of the day, it's about, like I think, it is about learning to tell the truth on all from. But hey, there are times where we just come out. I know my children do it. I do it. Did you do that? Oh yeah, of course, it was brilliant. And yeah, right, it wasn't. But that comes out because the situation is not. It's probably a fun situation, like you say. It's probably a situation where you're having a conversation, you're having fun, and it just comes out.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to end up like a swan paddling furiously, so I'd rather be a little duck quacking along.
I like that imagery. I love that. Were you going to say something, Udoka?
Yeah, as we were just talking, it just reminded me the time I was able to humble myself around my children, that I don't know this when asked. And I just said to them that I'm still even learning, trying to know myself right now. And I don't want to fail you, neither do I want to fail myself. So why don't we all gather and just help each other out? At this particular issue, I don't even know. I don't have a clue. And luckily for me, we were all able to help one another, of them saying their own, I saying their own. And we all concluded on something. So, and to me, that's winning, because I'm not proving anything anymore, that because I'm your mom, I know it all.
No, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that idea. Again, that's coming back to the honesty piece that Duke was talking about earlier, isn't it? This like, look, you may think you have to prove that you know everything, but if you don't, then could you own that truth? And the idea in that other piece was, once you do that, you give other people the permission to go, yeah, I don't either. Whereas if people think that the order of the day is just to not admit that you don't know and pretend you know and all that, then again, that's the culture you will end up experiencing. So it's kind of, you can lead in the way by modeling that honesty, to say, yeah, actually, I don't know. So that's a good one. Might sound like a bit of a tangent, but I suppose, as with all these things, we'll find where it meets. Right, this one is called When Silence Speaks. Listen intently. Listen carefully. Resist the itch to interrupt in quips. Let it go deeper still. It comes from within the chasm, the place where the void exists. Can you hear it, inviting you deeper within, way beyond the cursory notion, past the well-trodden places where trite responses lie within reach, to the very depths where the treasure of unerring wisdom speaks, hidden from the discomfort of noise, offering up untainted, undisturbed truth, riches for those who take the time to listen when silence speaks. So I'll read that again. When silence speaks. Listen intently. Listen carefully. Resist the itch to interrupt and quit. Let it go deeper still. It comes from within the chasm, the place where the void exists. Can you hear it? Inviting you deeper within, way beyond the cursory notion, past the well-trodden places where trite responses lie within reach, to the very depths where the treasure of unerring wisdom speaks, hidden from the discomfort of noise, offering up untainted, undisturbed truth, riches for those who have taken the time to listen when silence speaks.
That's strange. Everybody's just listening, and I'm itching to speak.
Yeah, speak. You're allowed to speak about when silence speaks.
Oh, that just sums me up. I'm always itching to speak, but I know I'm not so good. I am practicing to sit still and just listen to not just myself. I'm good at listening to people's body language, etc. But not listening to myself within.
So how do you listen to people's body language? How does that work?
Well, I watch, and when they speak, it's a skill I think I picked up through my career, because I have to understand what people's requirements are for my job. So it's a skill of listening to their body language, their facial language, and what they're saying, and match it in order to understand whether that's what they really like, what they don't like, or whether they're winging it, like what you say. So I'm good at doing that. So I will say I'm quite a good judge of characters. Well, people tell me I am. But then when it comes to listening to how I respond, in a meeting or something. So when I'm doing my work, it's different. I can respond back through their body language, through that person, and understand what their requirements, what they want, what they like, etc. But like if I'm in a meeting or something and I hear something and I want to talk about it because I'm passionate about it, I don't take a step back, listen to all that's going on, and then respond to what I really want to say. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, because I heard someone say once to his child, "You're not speaking it by your face," or something to that effect. Like he wasn't reacting how he was supposed to. And I'm thinking, well, how do you do that? I don't know. How do you tell? But he knew his child. He said, your face isn't speaking it. I think that's the words he used.
Yeah, okay, that's a good thing. So, a good way of explaining it.
Yeah. Lot to learn. I don't know. Have to watch people's faces.
We're all here to learn.
Yeah.
We're all here to learn. So going back to what you're saying, Raquel, so in that you jump into the space to speak your opinion, but so is the invitation for you then to step, but what would be the invitation for you in this now that you looked at this, and so how would you show up differently?
So me, I always seem to wait for, I'm always waiting for somebody to invite me to speak. And if that doesn't happen, I'm trying to look for an opening, and I'm not very good at delivering that, looking for that opening. So I may have interrupted at the wrong time, which I thought would have been a good time.
No. I hear you.
I see this poem as the benefits of silence.
Mm.
So that would be like when silence speaks, the benefit of silence. I think our lives are filled with so much noise and distractions that we find silence uncomfortable and intrusive. So when we're faced with a silent moment, it feels uncomfortable because it's not what we're used to. So I think that's why it's important to make every effort to find time to be quiet, like we would say, be still and know that I'm God. To be still, to be quiet, and not be not be frightened to face silent moments. We don't always have to respond.
I like that. I like that. Yeah. No, I hear that. Really.
Yeah. Very true.
Vidoka, you're going to say something?
I'm just, while you were reading it, I just felt this warmness. You know, when you are so relaxed and everything becomes so beautiful. And that's the beauty of silence. Because it heals where it needs healing. It produces where it needs to produce that wisdom or whatever you need to do to progress. So silence is just beautiful. And I pray I'm able to do it. Well, it's so hard, but once you can do it. It's the most beautiful gift you can give to yourself. To just it's like saying, I surrender.
Yeah.
So it's so beautiful, and I pray we all have the grace to do it all the time. It's so beautiful. It's so ill, it heals. It heals all the broken hearts when you are listening, when you are just silent. It's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. No, I really hear that. I really hear that. And in full disclosure, I mean, this is something that I struggle with, but nature has found a way to get me into. So my quiet time is the fact that I'm always guaranteed to wake up after I've slept 5 hours. Doesn't matter what time I sleep, I'm going to wake up. And that is the quiet time. That's the time when you think to yourself you're about to go back to sleep, but you're not. And that's where my silence shows up. But I can honestly say that it's in those moments and in those spaces that I get my most inspired actions from. Something will just drop and say, do this, do that, or speak to this person, or reach out to that person, or do this, or do that. It's in those moments. And the other thing I want to put on the table as well is that I think it's been alluded to by the people who've shared. If you go and research 99.99% of addictions, right? And I've suffered with 2 different kinds of addictions, so I know what I'm talking about. If you go and study all kinds of addictions, the object is to distract. And the object of distracting, funny enough, is from that silence. Not just the silence of no sound, but the silence of no doing. The silence of being with yourself and being at peace with yourself and accepting yourself as you are. And here's the other thing, the thing that we run away the most from, are distracted the most from, is because there's a story in our minds about if we were to let it be, it will consume us. If we will let it be, we will not be okay. But actually, when sometimes we're forced into that silence because we won't take it on our own. So something would need to happen to us, or something would incapacitate us, or something would cause us to be in a place where we have no choice but to be still, and have no choice but to listen, have no choice but to be present. Then the silence does its job. And I love what Udoka was saying, that there is a restoration and a healing. It's a bit like sleep. The whole point where nature designed sleep is for the repair of the body. So you can imagine that if the repair of the body was not important, then sleep would not be important. And the fact that if we just kept working all day and no sleep, then we couldn't be sustained as a human being, right? So that the same way silence to our emotional health and the not doing to our sanity and everything else is required for us to steep and sit into that. Let the reset and the healing take place, and then let it, whatever inspiration comes from that place. Then this speaks back to where we started this conversation, the infinite possibilities that exist. You get inspiration for which to focus on. Then going back to what Duke was saying, we take the energy of that and we funnel it into that inspired focus. And then the timing of knowing when to do, when to plan, when to act, and when to enjoy the fruits of it all fall into place.
That's amazing. Can I go back to that first verse?
Of course you can go back to the first.
The place where the void exists, can you hear it? Now, two things came to my mind as you was talking. And that's when Claudette was saying about be still and know that God is there. Because when you talk about silence and when I'm still and I'm trying to meditate, I hear things. It's not like I'm totally silent. So when you ask, can you hear it? That's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing, not the silence. I'm not hearing silence. I'm hearing this void that's within me that I've now replaced it with God talking to me. So I cannot, even when I try to do this Buddhist meditation and they said that I mustn't bring religion into it or anything like that, it was inevitable. I was talking with God and that was it. That is my silence. So when I looking back now, and no matter how much I try to meditate, how much I try to be still, I'm still hearing myself within. It's not total silence. So I'm now looking back when you're talking about sleep, when you said that when you wake up, I wake up like 3 o'clock in the morning and that will be another silence, but it's not total silence because I'm still communicating. I'm still thinking. And then I go back to sleep and then I wake up and I'm like, wow, I don't know anything. And I think it's when I'm sleeping in a deep, deep sleep is when I get my silence. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. And
I now not force myself to try and think I can be complete because I can't do it. I cannot hear no silence. I don't think it's possible for me.
Yeah.
That I can hear nothing. Even when I went to the sea to try and be silent. I mean, what is the definition of silent? Because I'm still communicating.
I'm
still thinking.
I like that. And Duke, were you about to come in?
No, I'm fine. No, I'm listening.
It's all right, Rachel.
I mean, that brought the can you hear it is what brought that to my attention right now. So I don't feel guilty that I can't hear anything.
Right. And I love that you put that on the table because I think that is one thing that throws a lot of people that try and meditate off, is because their definition of what that silence feels like is absolutely nothingness, but it's not. It's dropping out of the confusion of the mind and into a space where you can be open to receive. Now, don't forget that the framework we're working on is called flow. And flow happens when we have that space and when we have that place where we can receive the inspiration. I think it was Muriel who said right at the top of this call that she starts the day presenting herself to hear. But she cannot hear that if all that's in her head is all the worries of the day and all the things that are going wrong and everything else. If that is the business of the mind, the worrying and the stories and the catastrophizing and all that kind of stuff, then there is no space there. You see, so that is the space of you create where inspiration can drop into. And it's okay to be there, knowing that's the place you're okay. You have a sense of peace about you, right? So it's not silence as in absolute nothing. It's silence as in you are not in the turmoil of the mind. You are not in the currents of being swept. You have a space where you are there. You are present, and you're open to what is there to inspire you. That
makes sense now.
Yeah, that is the picture. And it's actually counterproductive to try and make that happen because your mind is the one who's going to try and make that happen. And by in the trying, it takes you out of the very peace you're looking for. And
I like Muriel's explanation. That's very good as well. Thank you.
Can I hold something up, please?
Of course you may. Yes, we see that.
Be still and know that I am God. We know he's God, but do we actually believe it? And do we surrender everything to him? That's what I have to talk to myself about.
Yeah.
The cross was not in vain.
Yeah.
It wasn't in vain.
So again, it's that idea. Yeah, I love what you're saying there. It's the idea that we need reminding. It's not a one, I know this and therefore that's it. We need reminding of it. And that's why these kind of calls exist, really, to give us the opportunity to reflect and remember again these things that we know at some level, but it's just, life is not static. We're constantly going through things every day, and we need each other to remind each other and to give each other that space in which to reflect again and to come back again and catch ourselves again and recognize that actually in our deepest essence of who we are okay. It's just our mind that runs away with everything and creates these experiences that are suboptimal. And if we can reset and just reconnect to that part of us and find that space to be inspired, then we can move into spaces and live with more ease rather than a lot of stress. Anyone else? Okay, so I'm going to just quickly go around the room. Claudette, for you, what is the one big thing you're taking away from today? What stuck with you?
I don't know. I don't know. Oh, everything. I just love all the sharing. I do. I love all the
slightly non-committal. I just love all of it. All of it is nice.
Yeah,
all of it's good.
I do. I just love all the sharing. It's so wonderful to hear other people's perspectives, because sometimes, we're in the moment here, but when we sign up and we leave and we say goodbye to each other, I often think about some of the things that I've said on the platform. So some of the stuff I'll be reflecting on those stuff as I go through the day. And then make even more connections with what other people have said. So I think it's just wonderful, the sharing and the openness, people being so open.
Yeah,
it's a wonderful thing.
It is indeed, and that's the power of reflection you're demonstrating there, to reflect and even get more out of what has come out. Brilliant. Udoka, what for you has stood out for you today?
Just to me, it's just the beginning. The first one. The confusion. And what God is able to do through that confusion, and bringing you into the focusing on one thing.
Right.
At the next stage. That's
right. Beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Muriel?
Well, I just think you're all amazing people. Frank, he's winging it all the time. If he's speaking at IGC, I guess, really. I hope he's not. So I'm going to watch that and scrutinize that. But somebody's just sent this through to me.
You're so funny, Muriel.
God is asking you, what do you see? He has given you amazing promises in his word, but maybe your vision has been limited by disappointments, setbacks, and doubts. Open your eyes to a new, fresh vision. Clear out all the negative, limited thinking and see yourself blessed, prosperous, healthy, achieving goals, building the kingdom, being a blessing. See yourself as God sees you. And, I have to tell myself that every day at 78 years old. I've still got a future. I've got a friend, she's 103, so I'm keeping going. And I'm telling you now, just you're special people. You've shared a lot. You've encouraged me. It's just a lovely platform, and thank you, Frank.
You're welcome, Muriel, and we're glad to have you and have your questions and your wonderful sense of humor and your balanced perspective. Lovely, lovely. Raquel, what are you taking from today?
Yes, I'm definitely taking away that this is great affirmation. I feel so encouraged that I am moving in the right direction. Also, definitely to be true to myself. You must be, it's just being true to yourself. Not just being true, but believing your truth.
Yeah.
And definitely I've learned a few things, learned about what silence means. And a few other tips I've got from everybody else. So that's just great.
It's brilliant. Well, I'm glad that's the case. What are you taking away from today?
Okay, well, the way I look at it is plan, set goals, reflect on your plan and your goals, then focus to energize yourself to act. So that's my little
I like
flow
that.
chart.
You're definitely a man of action from what I'm hearing. That's good stuff. We'll get it done. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Enjoy whatever you're doing with the rest of your day. And yeah, it's been great having you share in this environment.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.